I know how it feels to desperately want the company of others. I know how it feels to hate being alone. I know how it feels like if you could just get X thing or be in X stage of life, then you'll be happy. I know how it feels to outgrow friendships, yet at the same time you're holding on to them because you don't want to lose them. And I know how it feels to just be completely lost. However, I also know how it feels to have found solitude. I know how it feels to confidently take myself on dates and spend time by myself. I know how it feels to make genuine new connections with new people into my late 20s. And I can confidently say that I have never felt more true to myself, and that is in big part thanks to my time spent alone. So hello everyone, and welcome back to Mindset Matters, the podcast where we choose to live with purpose and grow with intention. If you're new here, my name is Vic. I am a psychology graduate, a teacher, and a certified life coach, and I'm here to share my perspective on how powerful your mindset can be when creating the life you want to live. I help young professionals prioritize their passions so that they can lead happy, fulfilled lives. Stay tuned for more on that a little bit later. And let's get into today. So today I'm really excited to talk to you about alone time and self-discovery and how to use your alone time wisely and how to shift your mindset into enjoying the time you have alone. So we're really going to get into essentialism and discovering and talk about what essentialism is and how to use it to your advantage in terms of self-discovery and figuring out what you want out of life. I'm going to talk about why self-discovery matters and why I feel like your alone time is actually the biggest blessing if you choose to look at it that way. And I'm going to talk about how to use your alone time wisely, how to embrace being alone, how to love yourself, and all the lessons that I've learned along this own journey of my own, from feeling frustrated with how things were going to genuinely loving myself, loving my life, and inviting the right people to find me. So I want to start with essentialism, and I did mention this in my last podcast episode. I will link it up here if you didn't get to listen to that one. But essentialism is the disciplined pursuit of less. This is a book by Greg McKeown, and essentially it talks about doing less but doing it better. And part of the journey of essentialism is to self-discover, to figure out what you should be doing and how to actually do less. And in order to know what is essential to you, you do need to do a little bit of discovery. But if we need to self-discover, how do we not do a million things? So for me, I found, looking back, when I was in a very lost stage of my life and I wasn't feeling secure in my friendships, I wasn't feeling happy with the direction of my life, I was stuck in my job, I just felt very unsatisfied, let's say, with how things were going. And I was in a mindset of like, if I could only have this thing, or if I could only be here, or if I could just find a relationship, everything will be better. And we'll get into the mindset part of it a little bit later. But one thing that I did was sign up for a bunch of hobbies. I decided I needed to get off my butt, stop sulking, and do things for myself. So I signed up for soccer, I signed up for volleyball, I signed up for gymnastics. And suddenly, 0 to 100, I was doing so many things and working full time and trying to be social. And what ended up happening is, I actually got injured playing soccer. So then I stopped everything. But even before that point, I think I was getting a little bit burnt out. And I realized that yes, the self-discovery was great, and I'm happy that I got out there and signed up for things. I think I tried to do too much all at once. So part of essentialism is determining what things really excite you. So maybe if I looked at those 3 sports and I picked the one that felt the most exciting at the time and kind of stuck with that, I think that could have been a better, more sustainable approach. And maybe if I hadn't chosen soccer, I wouldn't have got injured. That's a story for another day. If you know, you know. So if you're in this phase of not feeling good where you're at, you're feeling stuck, you don't know what you want, maybe you do know what you want, but you're stopping yourself from going for it, I would suggest starting by making a list. What are 1 to 3 things that excite you that you can explore? Maybe it's signing up for an art class. Maybe it is doing a sport or hobby. Maybe it's joining a run club. Maybe it is crochet. I don't know, any sort of social activity that can put you in a new place. Because I think also being exposed to new people and new situations, not to say that the goal is to be social, we're talking about being alone, but it's you pushing yourself to sign up for something in which, yeah, you might meet people, but you might also just enjoy doing it, even if you don't make any friends. And I think that should be the goal ultimately. And like meeting cool people is a bonus. So let's shift into, okay, why does self-discovery matter now more than ever? In our society, we are exposed to so much information. And there's so much content out there. There's so many things that we can learn. But I feel like if we don't know what to do with that information, it actually becomes really overwhelming. And so looking back a few years when I was feeling really, really lost, something that I did was I turned to self-help content. I was watching YouTube videos. I was reading a lot of books. I was, discovering the concept of just being more present in my life. And I was trying to soak in all this information. But to me, consuming all of this information is only beneficial to you if you actually do something about it. So you can sit here and listen to what I'm saying and maybe something resonates and you're like, wow, I really like what she said about that. But if then you kind of just go about your day and you forget about it, was that actually beneficial to you, right? Like how many times have you saved a TikTok video that was teaching you something and then you just never actually went back to look at it? You said, oh yeah, I'll do this later. Right. And of course, it's like later never comes. So I feel like, again, self-discovery is so important because we're exposed to all this information. And yet, if you don't know how to put it into action or how to put it into practice to see if it's something that could work for you, because I could sit here all day and tell you what works for me. What works for me might not work for you. And that's okay. And my goal on this channel is never to necessarily tell you exactly what to do, but it's to help hopefully guide you to make your own conclusions about things. And that to me is really important because you know you best, and I can't tell you what to do. No one can tell you what to do. And I think, again, being exposed to all of this content of like how to and just do this and this means this and that means that, but at the same time, everyone is unique. Every situation is unique. And while yes, there are a lot of principles out there that you can apply, I think it's important to figure out how you can apply it to your life in your own way that makes sense for you. So the next time you are watching some sort of content that intrigues you, or you're looking up some sort of how-to video, or you're reading an article, ask yourself, okay, what does this mean for me? How can I try this in my own life? And if I do, how will I know if it's working for me? Like, create this kind of criteria for yourself. So if one thing I want to do to enjoy my alone time more, or to kind of get unstuck and to self-discover, is join an art class. Maybe I don't know what type of art I actually like. So maybe I start by taking a drawing class, okay? And I'm learning how to draw. So I sign up for this class and I give it a few times, I give it a go, and then I reflect, okay, do I enjoy this? Is this exciting? Is it like a drag to go to art class every week? Like actually reflect on your experiences and make a decision that works for you. Now, this is Mindset Matters, and we can't do an episode without touching on the mindset component of all of this. So, when it comes to being alone, okay, shifting your mindset to, ugh, I'm alone. I have to be alone. This sucks. I'm all by myself. I have no one to do something with. How can we reframe that? What if it became, I get to be alone? Like, just say that to yourself. I get to be alone. I get to be alone. Are you kidding? Being alone is a blessing. Spending time by yourself is a blessing. This is something I will never stop talking about. If you're single, you get full autonomy. You get to make all of the choices for yourself. You get to decide where you live, where you work. You get to decide how you spend your time, how you spend your money, what things you do. You get to decide everything for yourself. And I know that maybe long term, finding a loving relationship and partnership might be something that you want. And I'm definitely not saying that you just accept that you'll be alone forever, but take advantage of the time that you are alone. So much growth has come out of the past years that I've been single. And, it hasn't always been happy. It hasn't always been like, yeah, I love my alone time. But learning to really shift into this I get to mindset and just defining what that means for me and learning to love myself has been literally so amazing. And I hope that you can also discover that for yourself. So shift to I get to. And the next thing, which I just mentioned, is learning to love yourself. Okay, this is so cliche, but you cannot fully give love to another person if you don't love yourself. And when you think about attracting, right, we think about the law of attraction or manifestation. I did a whole episode on like the life mirror, right? What you put out gets reflected back to you. Think about your ideal partner, your ideal friendship, your ideal, whatever type of person you want to manifest into your life. If they met you how you were like right now, would they want to be your friend? Would they want to be your partner, right? Are you a good partner for them? And I think reframing my mindset to thinking about this really led me to do a lot of soul searching into, okay, well, how do I need to show up so that I'm ready to meet that person? So that if they came into my life right now, I would be fully whole and complete on my own. And a lot of that was learning to be more present. A lot of that was learning to, again, enjoy and use my alone time wisely, which I'll touch on in a little bit. But, I think looking back, there's been times in my life where I've thought, okay, I'm ready for a relationship, or I'm ready to meet new friends, or I'm ready for this. But looking back, I wasn't ready, because even just thinking back to how I thought about it, I was desperate. I was like, I desperately want better friends in my life. I desperately want a partner, whatever that looks like. And when you're desperate, your energy is low and you're not putting out good vibes. And so you're not going to attract the type of people that you want into your life. So you have to almost like reverse engineer it and start with your mindset. How am I looking at these situations? How am I looking at being alone? Is it this burden on my heart? Am I really sad and lonely? Do I hate being alone? Do I dislike who I am? Because I think a part of being alone is like when you learn to be comfortable with yourself and truly confident, like when you love yourself, being alone is fun because you enjoy your own company, right? It's like you don't mind being alone with your own thoughts or alone with yourself because you like who you are. So if you're struggling with being alone, a good place to start might to be really to look inward and, am I happy with myself? And if you're not, what things can I work on to help me love myself? I'd like to revisit an idea I mentioned in the intro, which is once I get X, I'll be happy. Once I'm in a relationship, I will be happy. Once I get that job, I will be happy. Once something comes true, I will be happy. The happiness doesn't come, let me tell you, okay? If you cannot be happy where you are along your journey of where you're going, you're relying on outside forces outside things to make you happy, I truly don't believe that that can work for us. There's a reason why there's so many celebrities who seem to have it all and yet they are depressed, they're sad, they're lonely. And I think it's easy to compare ourselves. It's easy to look at someone and think, oh, if I just had what they had. Let's not go down that road, because one, you never really know what's going on. I think two, it can be easy to look at someone in a relationship, especially on social media, and be like, wow, they're so happy. Why can't I just have what they have? And the reality is, again, we don't actually know what someone's relationship is like behind closed doors. We don't know what it's like to be them. We don't know what they're struggling with, within themselves and their relationship. So I think trying to avoid comparison along this journey of learning to love yourself and love being alone is really important. And again, this idea that once we reach X thing, we'll be happy. Learning to be present, learning to enjoy every day, be the best version of myself every day, get 1% better every day. All of these things and these big mindset shifts change my entire life, because I used to have this feeling of, if I could just get here, and I think it's great having this personal vision. And this is something I do with my coaching clients, is crafting a personal vision, having some sort of direction of where you're going and your values and what you want out of life. But you're not so desperate to get there. Instead, you have this guiding light, this vision, and it guides you, it helps you enjoy the journey, and you have an idea of where you're going. You're not completely lost. But the main thing is that you're not obsessed with the arrival. You're not obsessed with needing it to happen right now. And I think that's a mistake a lot of people make, is once they have a goal, once they're excited about something, they get so upset that they just can't have it. And I'd love for you to try to shift your mindset to, what if I get to just enjoy every day as it comes, knowing that this thing that I want is like making its way to me, right? Think of us as like we don't move through time, but time moves through us. And time is always going. We always only have the present moment. And I've done a few episodes on presence. So definitely go listen to those. Eckhart Tolle is another one of my favorite spiritual teachers. He talks all things living presently. I would highly recommend his YouTube channel and his books. But I just think I can't emphasize enough that being present and learning to love yourself where you are now, and give yourself grace to where you are now along your journey, is the only true way that you can be happy. And I mean, I love life. I love the journey of life. I've spent so much of my time obsessing about being in the next phase. But when you come back to where you are now, and again, I get to be where I am. Guess what? I was single, so I moved across the country, and now I'm living my best life in Vancouver. I absolutely love it here. I've already met some amazing people. Had I been in a relationship, I probably wouldn't have done that. Think about the things you get to decide for yourself. And I know it's not all about being single or attracting the right friendships, and just the energy you put out. So shift your mindset, give yourself the grace, and ask yourself, what can I do today that tomorrow me would be proud of? And even if it's one thing, you're getting 1% better, then you're moving the needle. You're doing great. So don't obsess over trying to do everything overnight. So let's get into some practical tips of how you can use your alone time wisely. My first tip would be to not wait for other people to do things. Okay? Something that's been really cool for me since moving to Vancouver is I noticed this big shift in my confidence of doing things alone. When I was back in Toronto, maybe because it was my home city and where I grew up, I didn't feel as motivated to do things alone. I think part of it has been that I moved to a new place, so that I've been motivated to explore. And obviously I don't know a ton of people here, so I've been exploring a lot on my own. But something that I noticed was like, I would just walk into any place, any shop, walking down the street. Oh, that looks interesting. Not a second thought. I would just walk in and do it. Say hi to the clerk. I'm looking around. Like, no, just like lack of confidence in my mind, no doubt in my mind. And I was reflecting on like a day I had, and I was thinking, like, wow, wait, I feel really good here. I feel really good exploring. I feel really good putting myself out into the world. And I don't have anyone to do these things with yet. And I didn't even question it. And I think that was a huge moment for me of how much I have grown, because in the past, it would have been a big deal. Even just taking myself to a little coffee shop date used to be a big deal. And so I really want to urge you, if you're feeling like you desperately want the company of other people and it's really hard for you to do things alone, like, start small. I promise you, you will expand your comfort zone. Start with a little coffee shop. Next, take yourself on a picnic. Take yourself to a movie. Maybe you take yourself to dinner, okay? I've done all these things, and sometimes it feels uncomfortable. And another thing I talked about recently was spotlight effect, and I will link that one up below. That was a good one. But it's this idea that everyone is paying more attention to us than they actually are. So when you go out and do things alone, you might feel self-conscious of like, oh gosh, are people staring at me? Are people noticing that I'm here all by myself? Let me just tell you, likely they're in their own world. They're likely worrying about the same things about themselves. So don't feel like people are overly watching you. And again, shift your mindset. Maybe someone sees you alone taking yourself to dinner and they think, wow, that person has confidence. I want to be more like them. So don't assume that people are looking at you negatively, and don't assume that they're looking at you at all. Okay, it's okay to be in your own world sometimes. And one thing I will say, which I kind of alluded to, but the more I did things alone, the more I took advantage of my time alone, the more confidence I built. And now I feel so confident doing things by myself, and I genuinely love it. Even now that I'm, with a lot of friends and I have people to do things with, I genuinely love doing things by myself. I think it's so empowering. I think it's fun. I love my own company because I love myself. And if that's not like the biggest slay ever, I think slay is one of those words that I'm not supposed to say anymore. It's not cool to slay, but slay girl, slay queen. Like, I love hanging out by myself. I love it. And had I not been forced out of my comfort zone by losing certain friends, by being single all this time, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have explored as much on my own and learned to love it. So really, it just gave me more independence. And the last thing that I want to touch on in terms of using your alone time wisely is giving yourself space to reflect. Okay, I kind of talked about this earlier with when we consume content on how to or giving advice or whatever. Give yourself the space to reflect and think about how something might apply to you. But after you take yourself on that coffee date, reflect on it. How did it feel? And guess what? Did you survive? Because sometimes we just need to reframe our mind. Because even if you went and you thought, oh, that was scary, that felt uncomfortable, I was nervous to sit down and read my book alone in the shop, whatever that looks like, whatever the scenario is, it felt uncomfortable and scary to walk up to the hostess at the restaurant and say table for one. I'm like, gasp. But how do you feel after having done it? It felt scary, but guess what? You did it anyway. Reflect on that. Pump yourself up. Affirm that you got through it. I think it's important to reflect on any type of milestone, no matter how big, how small, and think about how you felt in that situation, how you feel now that you've overcome that scary feeling. And ultimately, this is helping you become more independent. And I promise you, if you feel confident on your own and you build up your comfort zone, you expand it a little bit and a little bit each day, you will build up that confidence, that independence. And as a result, you're going to feel better in your life. And you feeling better in your life, you're exuding this confident energy, this happy energy. You are going to start to attract all the right people. And I've seen it in my own life, I've seen it in other people's lives, and I really believe that that can happen for you. So if you're feeling a little stuck in your current situation, you know there's something better out there for you, but you're not quite sure what your next steps are. Again, along this theme of self-discovery, I invite you to download my 5 essential journal prompts for getting unstuck and discovering your passions. These are journal prompts that are really going to help you dig deep and think about what it is that you want to attract in your life, where you're getting stuck right now, and it will help you kind of unlock just a little bit of clarity in terms of the direction you want to be going. So I definitely would love for you to download those. So you can click the link below, mindsetmatterswithvic.com/freebie, to download those for free and get started on your self-discovery, because it's such an important part of life. I have seen so much growth, again, in myself, in other people around me. And really, that is what we're here to do on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I can't wait to see you next week. Bye.